The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.
It strikes suddenly, and it's often deadly. Stroke. How do you cope? How can you prevent it? Face it, none of us are getting any younger, but anti-aging medicine may help us slow the sands of time. Is there another sexual epidemic? Genital warts. How are doctors attacking HPV? If you have pain in your head or neck, could the key to relief be hiding in your ear? Get the answers as we get right to the heart of matters affecting your life today on Today's Health. This program is brought to you in part by Hoffman LaRoche, the World Center for Anti-Aging Medicine, Interferon Sciences Incorporated, and Slimline Products Incorporated.
How are you feeling today? The condition of our body has an enormous impact on our state of mind. Sometimes an ordinary day can be special just simply because we feel great. Other times, if we're feeling poorly, it's hard to enjoy even the happiest of occasions. Hello, I'm Faith Daniels, and this is Today's Health. Understanding our bodies and the threats to our good health can help us defend ourselves against illnesses that can get us down. Today, we're going to explore some solutions to help us stay well and feel great.
It is one of the most preventable of all medical catastrophes, yet stroke is still the third largest cause of death in the United States and the leading cause of adult disability. Well, just what is stroke? Who is most at risk? And what can we do to avoid it? Most of us have heard of a heart attack, where the vital blood flow to the heart is blocked or cut off. A stroke is essentially a brain attack, where the blood supply to an area of the brain is cut off.
There are two basic different types of strokes. One involves hemorrhage into the brain. We call that a hemorrhagic stroke, and that can be due to a ruptured aneurysm in the brain, or ruptured arteriovenous malformation, or sometimes just a spontaneous hemorrhage into the brain. The other type of stroke, which is more common, is what we call ischemic stroke. Ischemic means from lack of blood supply, and that is when a blood vessel to a certain area of the brain gets closed off, occluded.
Any stroke can be deadly. Of the nearly 550,000 strokes a year, 1 in 3 prove to be fatal, and nearly the same amount leave the victim permanently disabled.
Pins and needles, weakness, double vision, difficulty with speech, difficulty with walking, balance problems, any of those can be the symptoms of a stroke. Characteristically, because a stroke is an acute thing, then those symptoms come on suddenly, out of the blue.
I didn't know I was having a stroke until my sister told me on the phone, sound like I was having a stroke. And so I asked, how could she tell? She said, because my speech had started slurring.
A brain attack and a heart attack have many things in common, even that short time window in which treatment is thought to be effective.
For some patients, that window may be only a few minutes, and for others, it may be as long as 6 hours. An enormous problem that compounds the damage of a stroke is that many people don't recognize the symptoms and never seek medical help until it is far too late.
I was in the emergency room in a matter of minutes. By getting me as quickly as they did, that helped a lot.
Last year, the cost of treatment and lost productivity due to strokes totaled over $30 billion. But no dollar figure can ever quantify the human damage and suffering caused by brain attacks. Well, fortunately, there are ways to recognize the risk factors and steps you can take to avoid a stroke.
Good health begins with informed choices. It's important to make good decisions about the proper exercise, diet, even the lifestyle that's right for you. If what you read and hear sometimes seems to be confusing, it's usually a good idea to seek out a healthcare professional and ask for their advice.
Could you be in a high-risk category for a brain attack? Every one of us has a different chance of being stricken by a stroke, and recognizing your risk may be the first step towards prevention. The people who are most at risk for having a stroke are those who have already had one wake-up call from their body called a transient ischemic attack, or TIA.
A transient ischemic attack is the warning of a stroke for a brain attack. Patients that have TIAs should consider it a warning and seek help immediately so a definite stroke can be prevented.
A TIA occurs when a blood clot clogs an artery for a short time. Someone who has had a TIA is 10 times more likely to have a stroke than someone with no history of a TIA. Other people who are at high risk for stroke are those who are over 55. Males have an almost 20% greater incidence rate of stroke than females. African Americans are twice as susceptible to stroke as other people. Unfortunately, there is no cure for stroke. Doctors and researchers are working feverishly to find treatments to better deal with stroke and to help patients recover the full use of their brain. However, in the meantime, if you are in a high-risk category, you can take steps to prevent a stroke.
Stroke is a preventable disease in that a number of the risk factors that a person may have for stroke can be modified. One of the most important is actually smoking. And certainly one is capable of, even if you've smoked for many, many years, your risk, and you're at a much higher risk of stroke than if you had never smoked. Hypertension, high blood pressure is another very important risk factor for stroke, so that by controlling the blood pressure, you can reduce the risk of stroke. High cholesterol, out of control diabetes, obesity, and as I mentioned, very important is narrowing of the carotid arteries.
If you are in a high-risk category for stroke, it's important to see your doctor so that you can take the necessary steps to help reduce your risk factors.
They told me that if I'm not careful with stress and what I eat, that I could have another stroke.
When it comes to stroke, understanding your risks and knowing your options may help prevent a medical catastrophe. There are steps you can take on your own and with the help of your doctor that may help you avoid a very deadly situation.
It's a medical catastrophe, stroke, but it can be prevented. There are treatments available to help you avoid a brain attack. What are they and why do they work? We'll get to the heart of this matter when we return on Today's Health.
We all have good and bad habits, but some habits have a greater impact on our health than others. Smoking, for instance, can put you at high risk for many illnesses. Regular exercise, on the other hand, can help prevent many problems. Do you have any habits you want to change, just for the health of it?
You've probably heard the old adage, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. That saying is particularly appropriate when it comes to stroke. While cures and treatments for the damage done after a stroke are very scarce at this time, there are several effective medical treatments available that can help you avoid a stroke before it happens.
There are a variety of different surgical approaches that can now be done for stroke. One of them is a fairly established procedure called carotid endarterectomy. Antiplatelet medications are designed to prevent a stroke. Interestingly, aspirin, Ticlid, and one or two other agents tend to inhibit platelets sticking to one another.
Other alternative treatments are the anticoagulants. Okay, the anticoagulants are drugs that inhibit the proteins in the blood, okay, that act with platelets together to form a clot.
What I would like to say to people about stroke is it comes on you unawares. You have to be very careful with hypertension and stress. That brings the stroke on, and stay on your medication regardless of how good you feel. Always stay on your medication, don't get off it. That was my greatest mistake.
The future for the treatment of stroke appears to be looking brighter. The FDA recently approved a drug called TPA that can help a stroke victim recover with no disability or minimal disability if it can be given within 3 hours of the stroke.
Awareness of stroke by the general population is perhaps the most important thing that I hope we're going to see in this next year or two.
In regards to treatment, we have now some big hopes that in the near future we will have agents that will prevent damage, okay, or will slow down damage as a stroke is happening.
Time is the enemy after a stroke. The longer it goes, the more severe the stroke may be, the less likely to recover, so that we feel that time and time measure in minutes, not in hours, but in minutes, is of the essence, and it's just as important as after a heart attack.
It's so much easier to prevent a stroke than to cope with the damage one can cause. It may take a concerted effort to change old habits, but if you can avoid the disaster of a brain attack, it will be well worth it.
Logging on the internet may actually be good for your health, especially if you visit our Today's Health homepage at www.bstar.com. You can get more information on any subject that we covered on the show, and there are even some extras waiting for you. You may not be aware of it, but the air inside your home can be many times worse than the air over the most polluted city streets. Proper storage of household chemicals, regular cleaning, and good ventilation can help clear the air so it won't leave you breathless.
What's the secret of eternal youth? The idea has frequently been played out in literature. In his futile quest to find the fountain of youth, Ponce de Leon discovered Florida. Still, no one has found a way to stop the aging process. However, doctors and researchers are developing treatments and therapies that could revolutionize medicine and help us age better and stay healthier.
We age because of our genetic programming. We are all, believe it or not, supposed to live 120 years. As a result of our industrial pollution, we pick up all kinds of toxins and chemicals which accelerate the aging process. This puts us under stress. Our bodies secrete more of the stress hormone, and the first thing you know, we're old. You can reverse the progress of diseases like arthritis, cancer, heart disease, by detoxification procedures.
Many doctors have devoted their entire practice to the fight against aging, like the ones here at the World Center for Anti-Aging Medicine at Puerto Plata in the Dominican Republic. In the midst of this pristine island paradise, some extremely innovative research is underway. There are many progressive therapies available to battle the entire spectrum of diseases.
Hyperbaric oxygen therapy is a procedure whereby a patient is put in a chamber and 100% oxygen is piped in, and the atmospheric pressure is raised so that the oxygen is literally driven through the skin so that the level of oxygen in the body is many times what it would be otherwise. Live cell therapy is a treatment whereby an embryo is harvested for the cells that are desired to be rejuvenated in the human body. Example, if you took a lamb embryo and took the part that would develop into the brain and injected that in the human body to produce a rejuvenation of brain tissue. DMSO is dimethyl sulfoxide, which is a penetrating agent. This is used to get things across the blood-brain barrier that would not go across anyway. You can reverse the progression of diseases by cleansing of toxins from the body, by detoxification. It amounts to you're stopping killing yourself.
No one wants to grow old, and with every birthday we face new health challenges. Hopefully, the advancement of anti-aging medicines will continue so that we may all be able to remain healthy as we age more gracefully.
We'll be back with more on Today's Health.
Let's face it, none of us is Peter Pan. We all have to grow older, but we don't have to surrender our health to Father Time. The older we get, the more actively involved we should be in maintaining our own healthy lifestyle. If so, even our twilight years may be the prime of our life.
It's no secret. Sex is a natural and necessary part of our lives. But intimate relationships don't always last forever, and ex-lovers can move on to new relationships with other people. Unfortunately, in today's reality, sex with an unknown partner or multiple partners is getting to be a greater health risk all the time. Genital warts is one of the most common and rapidly spreading sexually transmitted diseases in the United States. It is estimated that between 10 and 38% of the population may be infected, with about 8 million active cases at any one time. Genital warts are caused by a group of viruses called the human papillomaviruses, or HPV. The warts form on, in, or around the genitals and anus. The only symptom of this infection are the warts themselves. They are not often painful and vary in size and shape. HPV, the virus that causes genital warts, is generally transmitted through sexual contact. The incubation period may vary from a few weeks to a couple of years.
I was embarrassed, scared. I felt like I had been cheated on.
Genital warts by themselves are not dangerous, but different forms of the HPV virus have been linked with cervical cancer and penile cancer.
We can usually take care of these warts by destroying the actual tissue, and this can be done by removing them surgically or by freezing them, putting acid on them. But all these cytodestructive therapies have one thing in common, that is they are anti-wart and not antiviral.
Simply removing the warts does not necessarily prevent their recurrence because the virus may remain behind.
After having alternating treatments without any type of result, I became very desperate.
Injections of alpha interferon, like Alpharon, developed by Interferon Sciences, have shown promise in removing the warts and reducing the activity of the HPV virus.
We believe that interferon sets up a cascade of events that continue long after the last interferon has been cleared from the bloodstream.
My many years of using interferon have convinced me that it's best to use it just as soon as you see patients failing your first-line therapy.
I have been clear of warts now for 2 years. And every day I wake up and I thank the good Lord that this type of medication was available for me.
If you or your sexual partner have genital warts, don't panic. Consult a healthcare professional. HPV does not have to ruin your life. It's unfortunate, but sexually transmitted diseases are a reality we need to be aware of. So if you choose to be sexually active, it's a good idea to use a condom and to practice safe sex.
How many phone numbers do you have? One for the house, the office, the pager, the cell phone. How about the computer? As technology grows, so can the level of stress that we live with. Too much stress can be hazardous to your health. So when you stop to smell the roses, turn off the pager.
It's nagging, annoying, and it hurts. A real pain in the neck. Constant head and neck pain can become a serious intrusion into your life, and many people must cope with it, using a variety of prescription or over-the-counter pain medications. Most people would prefer not to have to deal with drugs and their side effects, but the discomfort caused by neck and head pain often leaves them feeling like they have no other alternative. Fortunately, there are drug-free remedies that may bring some relief. This slimline earring is not simply a piece of costume jewelry. It is a specially designed device created to treat head and neck pain without the use of medications.
Basically, what we are dealing with is an earring that on one ball has gold and on the other ball has non-nickel stainless steel. Two dissimilar metals that are hooked together then by either a silver bar or a gold bar. And they set up a small galvanic current in that area. There are two nerves that are activated by that small galvanic current. Those two nerves feed back into the brain itself and control the head and neck pain.
I have neck pain. It comes up from my neck and comes around to the top of my head, and it's almost like a clamping feeling on top of my head from the neck pain. The earrings relieve my pain. They make me feel as if I don't have to take medication. I have more control of the pain. I have more control of side effects, and there are no side effects.
The search for non-medicinal pain remedies, especially in cases of persistent and chronic fatigue or pain, is extremely important. Doctors often fear that patients who use medications for lengthy periods of time could develop a dependence on the drug.
Well, initially, the earrings were developed to treat obesity. And what we found in our study was that the earrings were very effective at treating the temporomandibular joint and neck pain associated with that dysfunction.
I actually had gotten them on a Friday, and the person that had given them to me was a coworker, and I had promised her that if I had results over the weekend, I'd come into work on Monday with a bouquet of flowers, and I came in with the biggest bouquet of flowers you could ever imagine by Monday, because I was actually able to sleep at night, something that I really didn't do that often. I always had broken sleep. I would recommend the earrings very highly to anybody that suffers from neck pain or migraines or headaches. I believe in them 110%.
If the current generated between two metals can help fight pain, we may just find that a little electricity can generate a lot of energy.
How important is your health to you? The best time to do what's necessary to stay healthy is when there's nothing wrong. If we can maintain regular checkups, proper exercise, and a balanced diet when we're feeling fine, then we may be able to avoid what makes us ill. I'm Faith Daniels. For more information about any of our stories, visit our internet site at www.vstar.com. And join us again next time as we get right to the heart of matters affecting your life on Today's Health.
This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.